We are live, brother.
Folks, welcome back to the Vol Talk podcast and welcome back to the win column. Very nice win against the Kentucky Wildcats yesterday. Folks, you are here with myself, Blake. You are here with my brother, Austin, and we are here to talk all things volunteer sports. And today, Austin, we will be reviewing this nice blowout victory against the Kentucky Wildcats. And we'll also be talking about the big baseball news. Josh Elander hired as the 26th head coach of the Tennessee Baseball Volunteers. So excited about that. We're going to talk about that. But first, we'll talk about the Kentucky game. And then, of course, we are going to, Austin, have a conversation that needs to happen about one Timothy Banks. But again, first the good news, man. We won big against Kentucky in Lexington.
Yeah, we took care of business, but Blake, we do not celebrate expected accomplishments, and this would fall into
That's
that
right.
category of an expected accomplishment. We are supposed to blow out Kentucky. I saw a clip today of some Kentucky coach or former player telling the players, "These guys don't respect you." You are correct. We do not respect Kentucky. We will never lose to Kentucky, and we should never lose to Kentucky. So this is an expected accomplishment, Blake.
Couldn't have put it better myself, brother. It is absolutely 110% expected at the University of Tennessee that you beat Kentucky. That's just what we do. And of course, I won't talk about them yet. There's another team that you're expected to beat the University of Tennessee, but that'll come later in the year. You took care of business against the Wildcats in Lexington, so that is good stuff. 56-34. So we're going to get into all of that, folks. But first and foremost, welcome to the live show. And as always, we ask kindly for your support. If you love the Vols, I assume you have to love the Vols because otherwise you wouldn't be here. And so if you love the Vols, go ahead and give us a like, give us a subscribe. If you're listening on Spotify, give us a follow, and we would certainly appreciate it, Austin. We have appreciated, as always, this incredible growth. We're pushing 900 subscribers. So we thank you, folks. And as soon as we turn the clock on 900, Austin, we're going to be pushing 1,000, and we're going to be starting the countdown to 1,000, which will be just absolutely huge for us. We're very humbled by that. So thank you all for that, and welcome, as always, to the Vol Talk community. But Austin, let's get right into the game review.
Let's do it.
So we go into Lexington. We schwack them 56-34. They got a couple garbage time TDs, right? I think it's at least two garbage time TDs. Arguably maybe just one. So you go in there, you take care of business. Really, we probably could have scored again at the end of the game, gotten over 60 points. So absolutely, at the very least, we're going to talk about the defense, but at the very least, the offense was back to the regularly scheduled programming, and specifically Austin Joey Aguilar, incredible.
Yes. Yes, the offense was incredible. Like you said, specifically Aguilar. I think Aguilar probably had his best game of his college career. Literally couldn't miss the entire ball game. Several deep throws down the field, all of which were perfectly thrown. He had from PFF 5 big time throws on the day, 93.1 passing grade. An incredible performance, and it was a blowout. However, Blake, it did get interesting towards the end of the half. Okay, and if you looked at the yardage totals at the end of the first half, it was starting to look lopsided in Kentucky's favor before our last drive of the second or the first half. It was not a good sequence there. And you could argue that like without the big time defensive plays and the pick six and the fumble that gave us the ball within the 10-yard line, it's like, especially on defense, man, we struggled big time in the first half. Just to go through that end of half sequence, Blake, we were up 28-7, and then Kentucky goes on two straight scoring drives. They had two 50-yard plus plays in the first half, which not great to see. But
No,
then they go on that final drive in the first half that make it 28-21 with a minute 38 left, and they get the ball to start the second half, Blake. So like that could, I mean, we're getting in dangerous territory at that point. Like the momentum is starting to shift after we've had these like big plays in the first half. But thankfully, we went on a final drive to end the half, which I was getting ready to come back on Vol Talk Blake and talk about Heupel's end of game, end of half minute clock management. Thankfully, it didn't come back to bite. Aguilar had a phenomenal drive to end the half, dude. It was multiple plays on the sideline, guys getting out of bounds, stopping the clock. And then, of course, the beautiful tight window throw to Ethan Davis for the touchdown. And that made it a 2-touchdown lead. And at that point, it's like, okay, we felt pretty good going into the half. And like you said, the offense continued to explode in the second half. So, yeah, overall, a great performance from the offense, but a completely different performance from our defense.
Yeah, I was definitely a little worried, kind of looking at how the game was going, getting close to halftime, like you said, but absolutely phenomenal drive by Joey Aguilar, by the offense to close it out, like you said. And then we just kept on the steam in the second half and ended up blowing them out. So, again, really great to see, but we are going to dig into more details on specifically the defense and kind of some of those things that you mentioned. Matt SS talking in the chat, he wanted 63 points. I feel you, Matt. I was the same. I texted Austin right as the game was ending, and I said, why didn't we score again? Come on now. You need it for Joey Aguilar's Heisman campaign. You need it for our playoff resume. You let Kentucky score a couple garbage time TDs, score again. I don't care. Like, freaking, and they were just letting us run it down their throat, Austin. So just hand it off and punch it in.
Yeah, I do wish they punched it in. Just to get into more of Aguilar's performance, dude. Like I said, he literally couldn't miss. Part of the reason was because the offensive line was phenomenal in this game. Pass protection was elite. I mean, elite pockets all day. In fact, I got frustrated at Joey a couple times because he got happy feet in a pocket that was beautiful. But for the most part, he handled pressure well when it was actually there. But dude, an insane Aguilar stat from this game, like something I've never seen before in football. So this is basically through three quarters, by the way. On 20 plus yard throws through three quarters, because he didn't have a 20 plus yard throw in the fourth quarter. 6 for 6, 274 yards, and 2 touchdowns. What? 6 for 6, 274 yards, and 2 touchdowns in 3 quarters? That's mind blowing. It literally speaks to how well he played in this game, dude. Every deep ball just couldn't miss. The first one was to Brazel. He had a couple to Brazel, dude. One towards the sideline that was just unbelievable. And then the Mike Matthews touchdown. Listen, got to give Mike Matthews credit, Blake. Got to give him credit. Okay, I was hard on him after the Alabama game, and I keep saying how he's had consequential drops. I don't think there was a drop all game, dude. I don't think there was a drop all game. And look at what happens when this offense doesn't have a drop all game, Blake. They should have had 63 points. They really could have had 70 if they really wanted it, because we literally ran out 8 minutes on the last drive of the game. So that's what happens when this offense doesn't drop touchdown passes. All of a sudden, Aguilar's, throwing 6 for 6 on 20 plus yard throws for almost 300 yards and 2 tutties.
And it's hard to lose football games when your quarterback's playing like that, and when your offense is scoring like that. So, yeah, man. I mean, we definitely need that. And I don't know what it is right now. Did they maybe have a little bit more separation against this Kentucky defense? Sure, maybe. Of course, we were on the road, right? So I don't know if the road environment. Now, obviously, Alabama is going to be louder than Kentucky, especially right now. Kentucky Stadium, especially after we started blowing them out. Of course, it emptied completely.
Yeah,
but even
it was
before
a ghost
that, it was a rough sight to see.
Yeah.
And so, the environment, easier environment all around, easier defense all around, but still, comes down to if the ball hits your hands and you're a receiver, you need to catch the football.
You gotta catch it.
You got to catch it.
But dude, but to the road point is interesting. I think we got to stick there for a second, because at the end of the day, and listen, we're like Blake said, we're going to get into the rough part of this performance and what it means the rest of the year. But we had been saying, Blake, we said on the preview, Kentucky plays tough at home. I mean, they just took Texas to overtime at home. a week ago. So they play teams tough at home.
Right.
They always have historically. And dude, I think this is the first time a game in Kentucky has been decided by like Tennessee versus Kentucky has been decided by more than 7 points in like several years, is what I heard. Maybe over 10 years. Like it has been very close games in Lexington for a while now for us, but not this one. So yeah, you do have to give the offense credit because even though the environment wasn't as tough, it's still a road environment. I talked about how maybe the cold could be a factor a little bit. I don't think it ended up getting that cold in the stadium, but that could have potentially been a little bit of a factor. But yeah, you got to give them credit, man, because we've said, hey, the drops have been an issue all year, and they cleaned it up for a game. And I think that's what, like, we're seeing the result of that. When you play a clean game on offense, which for the most part, outside of like one missed assignment by Deshaun Bishop that led to a sack, it was mostly just a completely clean game. This is the result. You can literally score on anyone at will. That's the kind of talent you have. And we saw that, dude. All three receivers had over 100 yards of receiving, Blake. Really
Yes,
good
that
performance
was
overall,
massive.
man. Massive.
That- I mean, and look, let me plug real quick. Okay, listen, not that I think any receiver recruits are watching Vol Talk, but one day they might. And listen, you got to understand if you're a receiver, then you want to come play for wide receiver U, baby. Okay, we got this offense cooking, and receivers are eating at Tennessee. So if you're a receiver, you want to come to Tennessee.
Hey, if you want the ball and you want the ball often, hey, if you want to be on ESPN's highlights, catching deep touchdown
Mm-hmm.
passes, hey, I completely agree with your sales pitch, man. I completely agree. And we've said all year this receiving. I mean, we've had very few bad things to say about the great Chris Brazzell. Chris Brazzell's been incredible. I think he's still in the Blitnikoff race, Blake. I really do. I believe that
Yeah,
after this
he's
performance. I
got to
think,
be.
yeah, exactly. He's got to be because his numbers are up there with everyone else. And it's a numbers game with these things, dude. They look at stats, and if we're looking at stats, Chris Brazzell has the stats. Plus, listen, I will never let you people forget that he had a touchdown stolen from him early in the year, by the way. I will never let y'all
Right.
forget that. So he should have one more. But Staley has been super consistent. I mean, outside of one blip in the Mississippi State game, that kid has been really good. The breakout has happened. And I've had my issues with Mike Matthews, but hey, he has talent. We saw it in this game with that deep touchdown throw. Just to talk through that throw, dude. Aguilar put every bit of arm strength he had into that throw, dude. I mean, he put everything into it. Like, that is the furthest that kid can throw. But hey, it made it there. It was perfect. He threw Matthews into space. Just a really great throw. But I found it funny that Aguilar put like literally every bit of arm strength into that toss. But yeah, I also want to get into a couple
Yeah.
other big plays, Blake. In the game. You probably saw this on the highlights. The insane fumble. That was maybe the craziest play
Oh my gosh.
I have ever seen, dude. Literally ever seen. Kentucky had at least 5 chances to recover this football. The initial fumble happens, and then at least 2 or 3 Kentucky players like bat it backwards, and this ball is just
Yep.
rumbling. And then they get another recovery, a clean recovery from a skill player, and then we have a perfect hit to cause another fumble on that skill player and to recover the ball. It's just I was literally talking to the people I was watching with. I was like, I've never seen anything like this. Like that, this is one of the most unique plays I've ever seen in football.
Yeah, and unfortunately for Kentucky fans, they probably feel like it kind of perfectly sums up their season
Yes,
this year
exactly.
in that one play.
Yes,
Because yeah, man, that is nuts. Now, me being that kind of look, sometimes I can get negative, and especially when it comes to defense. And of course, the first thing I noticed on the play
nega
was,
ball.
dang, how many missed tackles did we
Yeah,
have?
yeah, yeah.
On first, but nevertheless, yeah, it was an absolutely nuts play. Like people calling it on social media like a daggum greased pig contest.
Yep.
People trying to freaking tackle a greased pig, and man, that thing just couldn't be held on to. But finally, we recovered it. And Austin, I'm glad you brought that up though, because to me, importantly, if I'm not mistaken, we did turn around and
We did
score off of that fumble recovery. And we've talked about how that's been kind of an issue,
a
not
theme.
turning off or scoring off turnovers.
And I'm glad you brought that up, Blake, because we got down to fourth down. We got down to fourth down on that red zone drive. That we were on the 1 yard line, but it was still fourth down. So like we were a play away from once again not capitalizing on a turnover. But at the end of the day, we did it. We did capitalize on the turnover, which is so critical, man. I mean, that's been part of the problem, and we'll dive into some of the problems on defense, which I think there are a lot. But this defense at the end of the day, Blake, it's boom or bust. It's boom or bust. That's
Yeah.
what this defense is. But the problem is a lot of the times they've had boom plays, the offense hasn't
And then
reciprocated.
not capitalized.
Exactly. They
Yeah.
haven't capitalized, man. And it's just, and that's what's been tough to see because when this 2025 Vol defense gets a stop, you have to capitalize if you're
Got
the
'em.
offense, dude. You have to, because they're only giving you just a few a game. Like here's your opportunities. Like, and you have to take advantage of it when you can. They did also on the pick six. The pick six was a crazy play as well. And these were all in the first half. This is what I'm saying. In the first half, you could convince me, especially before that last drive we had, Blake, on offense. You could convince me they outplayed us in the first half. Like you really could, because these crazy plays that went against them. Farouk gets a batted pass. He was rushing the passer, gets a batted pass. It flies high up in the air, but he still catches it and then returns it. He's made a couple really big plays on the year as well. Even though maybe the down to down's not there, he's at least made some critical plays. So you got to give him credit for that. But yeah, man, just a crazy game with a bunch of crazy plays. But I'm just glad, Blake, I could sit down and relax and watch this team for a Saturday. Like I didn't have to sweat one out for the first time basically since Syracuse.
Yeah, well, and yeah, first time since Syracuse, not including the cupcakes, obviously, and certainly the first SEC game this year that we haven't had to sweat.
Yep, literally.
So, Vol fans, we like being here. This is where we want to be week in and week out. Is not having to sweat these games. Austin, I'm going to catch up on chat real quick here. We got again Matt SS in the chat. We've got Herb in the chat. Welcome again, Herb. Good to see you, buddy. Herb calling out the basketball team. We got an exhibition game against Duke tonight, and that is absolutely true. A couple new players that we are really looking forward to seeing. So glad you shouted that out, Herb. As always, folks, the Vol Talk podcast, we talk all things volunteer sports. So once basketball season starts, baby, we'll start reviewing that and looking at basketball as well, Austin.
And I've got a feeling that the basketball team could be the bright spot this year. Like with Vitello leaving the baseball team with this football team and the defensive woes on this football team, I have a feeling basketball could be our bright spot this year for Vol sports, man.
Absolutely. We've got a potential one-hit wonder in Ament, and we've got a big transfer to try to fill Ziegler's shoes in Gillespie. So looking forward to seeing what this basketball team can put out this year. So shout out to Herb. And then Matt talking about Texas, makes a great point, about just praising our offense because Texas was only able to score 13 against Kentucky in 60 minutes. So now, granted, like Austin pointed out, that's probably partially because Arch Manning was playing bad football, but the point is that when this offense is clicking, and we really put it to them in Lexington. So definitely good to see that. Herb talking about Ryan Wingo wishing he had come to UT. And then we've got Wesley in the chat. Welcome, Wesley. Glad you can make it. And go Big Damn Orange and just joshing you. All the regulars coming into the chat. So welcome, guys. Good to see you all. And again, welcome back to the win column, folks. We are in the middle of reviewing the Kentucky win. And later on, we will be talking about Josh Elander getting hired as the baseball coach. So stick around for that. But Austin, what else will you got to talk about on this offense? Like you said, just really great performance overall. Any other words on the offense or any other big plays?
Shout out Star Thomas. He ran really hard in this game, Blake. He was kind of the main contributor from the running back position in this football game. I do want to touch on one chat talking about how Stoops didn't want to really be there. Dude, so he had some of the funniest moments in this game. They panned to him after the fumble, Blake, that crazy fumble play. And he was just like, it literally looked like a face of acceptance to me. Like, he's like, This is always going to happen against Tennessee. Like, no matter what, we're destined to lose this game. And maybe it was a little bit of he knows his time's running out at Kentucky. Like, his time's
Mm.
running thin because no matter what you did a couple years ago, winning 9 games or whatever, like that's kind of ran out. That juice has kind of ran out. And at this point, it's like you can't go 0-5 in the conference. So, and listen, it's also notable. It's a ghost town with Kentucky fans. It was a ghost town for the preview. It's a ghost town for the review. This is what happens, man. We're kind of new to podcasting, especially with an actual active live chat, Blake, this season. What we're learning real quick is if we beat a team down, their other fans are nowhere to be found. However, if we play a team close or if we lose, then all of a sudden we got a bunch of Alabama fans in the chat.
Suddenly they're really interested in Vol content for some reason.
Yeah.
Interesting how that works for sure. Of course, with Kentucky, man, they're going to be down bad if we continue to also beat them during basketball season, because that's all they ever clung to. And now, because of old Daddy Barnes, they don't even have that. So.
And Blake, we haven't forgotten. Like, you can no Final Fours. We haven't forgotten who bounced you in the Sweet 16. That would be the Tennessee Volunteers last year. Okay, that's the current events, right? We're not going based on. We're not giving you credit for all the Final Fours that your past coaches got. The current events is we eliminated y'all in the tournament and just beat y'all by what should have been 30 in a football game. So yeah, we don't want to hear it from Kentucky fans.
Head back to the coal mines. We need that coal for that power. Folks, we are going to continue reviewing the game here. Austin, do you think it's time to get into the conversation that we got to have? Tim Banks, the defense. So here's the deal. The defense, you already talked about, boom or bust. We have some big plays. We've had a couple defensive scores now. But it just seems like and we did get some third down stops, but it's, that kind of ran out pretty quick in the game. And then we kept giving up third downs. And so we're having these and you mentioned the two, several big plays that Kentucky was able to bust on us. And so it's like, man, what is going on? It can't just be that I get it. We're down 2 cornerbacks, star cornerbacks that are injured. I get it, but it can't just be that, man. Talk us through it.
Yeah, so I think we have to start with our preseason analysis on this defense, Blake, which was we were worried about how we're going to replace the production of James Pierce, Omar Norman-Lott. From a pass rushing standpoint, that was my main concern. However, that's been the least of our worries this season from a pass rushing standpoint. That's been the good part of the team. Now, I will say the last 2 weeks, they've been kind of no-shows. However, overall, we've replaced the pass rush. So if you would have told me, okay, from a pass rushing standpoint, we're going to be fine, I'd be like, okay, we're good. And then, Blake, what have we been saying all year too? And listen, the corners, again, they haven't been as consistent as they were in the beginning of the year, but they haven't also been the main issue. And if you told me, well, we're going to be able to replace McCoy, whether he plays or not, and, Gibson, we're going to replace him with the true freshman that looks good, it's like, okay, well, then we have no issues on this defense. Well, it turns out our linebacking room and our safety room and honestly, our interior defensive line room were the real issues. Run defense continued to be an issue in this game. Not being able to cover screens at all, dude. I mean, the first touchdown of the game for Kentucky was a 71-yard screen play. Like, we can't give up 71 on a screen. We just can't. And then you mentioned third down. Okay. Yeah, third down, it was bad again, man. I mean, on the drive that made it 28-21, which if it's, and it got to that score, by the way. So 28-21 means we're in a ball game. Kentucky gets the ball to start the half. Okay, on that drive, we had a 3rd and 7 converted, 3rd and 5 converted, a 4th and 1 converted. Come on, man. That's inexcusable. You cannot continue to let them drive down the field on multiple 3rd and mediums, 4th and short. We have no answer in those situations this year, Blake. And specifically on the 4th and 1, they run a reverse. Blake, I'm letting teams know right now, if opposing teams are watching Vol Talk, run a reverse on us at least 3 times a game. We have no answer for a reverse. Okay? None. Our linebackers don't have the play recognition, dude. Okay? T-Lander on this play, and listen, T-Lander hasn't been great this year. I'll just say it. He's not been great. He's made some plays here and there. I think he works hard, and he's a solid player, but I don't think he's good enough to be starting on an SEC defense, Blake. On this play, dude, they do this reverse without even faking the handoff, by the way. They just send a guy in motion and hand it off. When you send a guy in motion, your eyes should be on the guy in motion. T-Lander literally runs the opposite direction, hits the other linebacker. He hits Perlow, Blake, takes Perlow out of the play. So both of the linebackers now have no chance to go get to the reverse. And by the way, not to throw Ty Redmond under the bus, he also missed the tackle in the backfield. It's like, dude, like you just took both of the linebackers, yourself, one linebacker, and the other linebacker completely out of the play because your play recognition was very, very poor. That was very, very poor. And that's just from the player perspective, that's just from the player perspective. But like on that play, the linebackers just weren't good enough, Blake.
And so then it begs the question, right? And look, we anticipated drop off this year from the historic defense last year. And that's part of why, when we talk about Tim Banks, it's like, okay, we had a historic defense last year. So what's going on? Is it the players? Is that you don't have enough depth? Is it that you don't, you haven't filled the holes or whatever the case may be? But that's, last year's what makes it hard for me to want to say immediately, hey, we need to fire Tim Banks. Because he's shown that he's capable of being a good defensive coordinator. But the problem is now it's just so, like you said, boom or bust. It's inconsistent. And now we're in this situation this year where, if this defense costs us a game, then we're out of the playoffs.
Yeah.
And look, there is some blame to go around. I do want to get to just Josh, and you put a comment in the chat about Boo Carter. I do want to touch on Boo Carter soon.
Yeah.
Because that's an interesting situation, and I am skeptical of that as well. But I mean, Austin, how much of this is players not executing versus, Tim Banks has just not got this defense up to snuff.
Yeah, and Boo Carter is interesting, dude, because Boo Carter, I think, is a perfect representation of the defense. It's literally boom or bust for Boo Carter. It's like he's either in the middle of making a fantastic play or giving up a backbreaking play. That's what Boo Carter is. And I think people are questioning the effort for Boo Carter. Now, the other players, I have no interest in hearing the effort argument. I don't think it's an effort problem. I don't think it is. Boo Carter, on that play in particular against Kentucky, Blake, it looked like he slowed up. It looked
definitely. It's kind of indisputable. Like,
I agree.
He let up.
He let up, and I think he could have hawked that guy down. And at the very least, even if you can't hawk the guy down, don't slow down. You just gave up a touchdown in man coverage. I better see your ass running all the way to the end zone. Like, you can't just slow down.
Yeah.
And I'll just quickly touch on this, Blake, because I want to get into Tim Banks and what is wrong and the guys that we're missing from last year that I actually think are making the difference. But the Colorado thing, and I can't get over it because, listen, you thought and I'm almost more upset at the parent because it's like you thought your kid could be Travis Hunter, but he doesn't have the talent of Travis Hunter, and it's not even close. Like, Travis Hunter was going to be a first-round draft pick no matter where he played. And by the way, a player from Colorado in Colton Hood came to Tennessee and is now considered a first-round prospect. Like, and this is why you shouldn't make a fool of yourself in the offseason, dude. Like, you look even more foolish now when your kid's getting burnt on TV, right? Like, you look even more foolish. So from that perspective, it's kind of frustrating. And it's just, it's this boomer bust aspect of Boo Carter. And, is his mind here, right? Like, is he all in? I don't know. It's you have to question on a play like that where he looks like he's slowing down.
Yeah, again, and I think Chad agrees. Wesley's saying, he definitely gave up. It seemed indisputable to me that he slowed up and he could have potentially caught the guy and made the tackle. And again, like you pointed out, it was after he got burned off the line anyway. And so it's just like, yeah, I wanted to when that whole situation happened, we were like, hey, let him back on the team and let him work to regain trust. And then, hey, no harm, no foul. Go out there and give your all. Well, that's the problem, is that it doesn't seem like you're going out there and giving your all. So it seems like it pretty much seems like you kind of had to come back to Tennessee because you missed the transfer window, whatever, and now you're just kind of waiting until you can get out. And to me, that's scummy.
Well,
Now I could be wrong. I
I
could be
won't
wrong,
go that far because
but
it's just the kid makes big plays. He's still
sure,
playing well, and he's still. But then it's these plays, and it's like it has to be 100% all the time, and I'm
yes,
gonna and again from Boo's perspective, I blame Boo less for it because he is just a kid and he's young and he's got to take responsibility for himself, but at the same time, it's just you know the parents are, I think, a big problem in all this, and I think the Colorado
yeah,
talk wouldn't even happen without the parents. So that's the problem in it. But he's got to give effort on that play because he got beat on the route, but we just don't want to see you slowing up before the end zone. That's it.
exactly,
Um,
exactly.
and I want to see you stop giving up big plays. But that's his defense in particular. I mean, for some reason, I'll be honest, Blake. I don't think we gave up a ton of big plays coming into this Kentucky game. It was more so death by 1,000 paper cuts from this defense.
Yeah,
That was really what it's been this year. In this game, it was just explosives. So maybe just Kentucky had a good game plan or whatever. But dude, doesn't it feel like this is like the fifth game in a row Tim Banks has been out schemed and out coached? Like
yeah,
it's gotten to the point, man, where we are going to have this conversation because I've been a defender. I've said kind of like you, Blake. It's like, listen, he had a great year last year. He led a great defense. But that's running dry. Like that's running dry to this point, especially considering the players we lost, which I think we were looking at the wrong players that we lost. We were looking at the NFL talent, Blake. I think it's more so the role players that we lost. The Will Brooks, right? We love Will
yeah,
Brooks, by the way. We gave him a lot of credit. Casey Clausen Man of the Year for whatever reason. But also the defensive lineman, Omari Thomas, Elijah Simmons. These are three players, Blake, that I think we lost last year that we understated it. We just did. We lost both of our starting safeties from last year. Okay, and our linebacking group has been thin for a while. It's why I believe if again, and I've said this a lot, but any new listeners that are listening, go look at the defensive guys we're bringing in the next class. A lot of linebackers and a lot of safeties. That should tell you that the current staff doesn't believe in the linebackers and safeties on the roster. They don't, which is good. You've evaluated the right thing, but they were giving us that tell because that's been the case for months now. That was the case before the season, Blake.
right.
So that should have been a tell for us like, hey, fans, like these position groups are going to suck this year. And by the way, they've sucked this year.
Exactly. Yeah. And but then again, it still begs the question, right? Like, first of all, should did the coaches do their due diligence, especially the defensive coaches, if we were going to be in that position, right? Did we need to hit the transfer portal before now,
Yeah.
and before we bring these recruits in, if we knew this was going to be a problem? So there's that piece. But then Austin, I think you made a great point in terms of Tim Banks just getting out coached, and that's what confuses me because he seemed to be able to have a fantastic game plan last year, and it's like, is it solely because the offense is cooking now, and all of a sudden, like, and so that changes other teams' plans, offensive plans against us. You talk a lot about how they have to rely on the pass, once we kind of, build up that lead or whatever. So suddenly teams, revert to the air attack very quickly. But to me, it's like, okay, well, Tim Banks should be prepared for that. He should be prepared to handle that state of affairs if he knows that's possible with this offense. I don't know, man. I don't get it. To me, the reason, like you said, we've been defenders of Tim Banks, and not wanting to jump the gun too much, but we're at a point now where I don't think it's just the holes in the talent and the
Yeah,
holes in the depth.
I
I'm
agree.
like, because like you said, he's just getting out
Well,
schemed.
Blake, on a defense that has two projected first rounders playing, we have three total. One's not playing, which again, we've talked about. The loss of McCoy is huge, but you have two projected first rounders on your team currently, and you're giving up 34 to Kentucky. Blake, coming into the game, Cutter Boley on the year had 4 touchdown passes. In this game, he had five. He had five. He matched his season total +1 against our defense. And you cannot tell me this defense does not have talent. It has talent. It does. It has a lot of talent, man. And it has a lot of depth on the defensive line. I don't think the depth on the defensive line is the issue. I think the interior defensive line isn't as good as stopping the run. And I think the linebackers or safeties are a huge problem. But I also think Tim Banks doesn't put his guys in position to make plays. One thing that's frustrated me, like one theme on the year, if you go back to the Syracuse game, I talked about after that game, wow, Tim Banks did a really good job of simulating pressure in that game. What does that mean? That means sending more than 4 players. That's the simplest way I can put it. Usually, typically, you want to win a pass rush with 4 players, but you can't always do that. You can't always win with 4 because that's a mismatch. They have 5 offensive linemen, you're sending 4. Well, with the simulated pressure, sending a linebacker, sending a safety, sending a corner slot blitz or whatever, that's a way you can simulate pressure. That has worked from when I see it. That has worked phenomenally for Tennessee this year. Tim Banks dials it up at good times. The problem is, and he did that in the Syracuse game pretty regularly. The problem is, since that Syracuse game, it's pretty much been non-existent. It's been non-existent. And what happens? He did it twice in this game from what I can remember, Blake. And that those numbers might be off. Don't fact check me, right? That's a weird thing to do. Okay. I believe what I noticed was twice. I noticed it happened twice. One resulted in a pick six, and the other resulted in a pressure incompletion for Cutter Boley. Do it more. And the frustrating part was, Blake, and this is what I'm talking about, him getting out schemed and out coached. Against Alabama, he did it none. There was
Yeah.
nothing. It was you were relying on your guys up front who have been good, in all fairness, but you're relying on those 4 guys to get pressure and cause havoc on the quarterback. And those four only. He didn't send any simulated pressure at the quarterback against Alabama. And what was the big theme for that preview, Blake? It was you got to get pressure on Ty Simpson. He's a different player when you get pressure on him. So this is what I'm talking about, man. It feels like every single week. And really, this dates back, Blake. This dates back to January. Ohio State. Okay, this is when I felt like the Tim Banks woes really started, which
Right.
is you have come into the game with what I believe is the worst possible game plan. You've come into the game with
Yeah.
just like okay, you're like, oh, against Ohio State, let's go man coverage, rely on Ricky Gibson, who's a good player, but he's average to above average player. Like he's not great. Let's rely on Ricky Gibson to go guard Jeremiah Smith one-on-one man coverage all day. Well, how did that work out, Blake? It was awful. It was awful
Not
for
good.
4 quarters.
Not good.
Not good. Then it's like it's just more and more this year. It's Arkansas game when it's like, wow, you're sending a lot of heat. You're getting pressure on the quarterback. It's going really well to start the second half. And then what do? You get into this
And then you
soup.
stop,
Exactly.
and then they come back.
Exactly. You get in this super soft coverage. You act like you're up by 50 points. No, it turns out you're playing Taylon Green in Arkansas, who have had a really good offense all year, and you're not up by 50. You're up by 14. And all of a sudden, 14 is 7, and all of a sudden, or 3. Basically, at the end of the game, all of a sudden, 14 became 3 at the very end of the game in that Arkansas game. So it's incredibly frustrating, man, because it's just like, it feels like no matter what he does, the offensive coach is ahead of him. And it's felt that way all season this year.
Yeah, absolutely. So I don't know. Some folks in the chat go big damn orange, saying replace Banks. You know, look, like Austin and I said, we're right there, but we'll see how the rest of the season plays out.
Exactly.
I don't think it'd be smart at all to do it mid-season,
Agreed.
obviously. But let's see how the season plays out. And look, if he costs us the playoffs, then you're gonna have to have a tough conversation. And it seems, Austin, like maybe Josh Heupel is starting to get maybe a little frustrated because he, at the end of the game, he was asked about the defense, and I think, did you see this where on the field he was asked about it? He was asked about the defense, and he said, "I don't think I heard the question." When he clearly heard the question.
Interesting.
Yeah. So
that's interesting.
Maybe Heupel is starting to get a little fed up with it. We'll see.
Because Blake, the problem with a boomer bust defense, you can't rely on getting defensive touchdowns every game, dude. It's not something you can't game plan for that. It's like, okay, boys, just go get a tipped pick six. Okay, just go get a fumble where Kentucky fumbles it 7 times. Those are not sustainable ways to play defense, Blake. They're just not. And it really boils down to third down defense. I think that's the one thing that we need to get better at.
Yes.
Getting off the field on third downs, because on first and second downs, you're doing just fine. You're forcing them in third and medium, third and long situations. And this is when coaching, and Matt S is talking about a solution. What's a solution? Well, on third down, the solution is don't send your linebackers 15 yards in coverage when it's 3rd and 4. That's a simple coaching thing. That has nothing to do with talent. Okay, the call was they're gonna look up, and this is an Alabama game, by the way, people. They're gonna show mug blitz, and they're gonna drop 15 yards in coverage and leave the middle of the field wide open on 3rd and 4. That's coaching. Don't do that. That's my suggestion. Just don't do that. And another one happened in this Kentucky game, Blake. It was, and this one looked more like just a misassignment than a scheme thing, right? But it was a third and medium, like third and short, I would actually say. It was 3rd and 4. And a linebacker, it was actually Prideaux. So just, in all fairness, I think, but he's young. He's late on getting to his zone, and then he's just late. He's just a tick late, and we give up a 3rd down and a conversion. And again, man, I think this is getting guys in the right position to succeed at their job is very important. I also think and I'm not calling for T-Lander to be bitched because I don't know if there's anyone better. Arian Carter was out in this game, Blake. Arian Carter was out with an injury, in all fairness. So we were down a player. Spillman's playing a lot. But I will say, when we get young bucks in next year, like we're getting 4-star, 5-star caliber linebackers, multiple in next year, we don't need to be loyal to players on the roster. You need to play the most athletic and the best guys. You do. We don't need to show loyalty to the senior who is average to below average. That's what I'll say. And like you said, dude, we don't know what's going to happen. We're going to give, like you said, it would be foolish to do it in the middle of the year. It would be foolish to fire Tim Banks in the middle of the year. We're going to give him to the end of the year. But dude, have we seen a good defensive performance this year, Blake? Like against any good competition? None.
Even the cupcakes were given up.
Exactly.
Even the, shoot, ETSU scored 17. I would have liked to see 0 now,
And UAB scored 24, dude.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like there has not been a single good defensive performance. So, are we just we're just going to pretend because we do a Vol Talk podcast that's going to change? Like we just think, all of a sudden we're going to shut down John Mateer in Oklahoma? No, it's going to take Aguilar in the offense outscoring John Mateer in Oklahoma. That's how you're going to win that football game. And we'll be doing a full preview on Tuesday about that. But it's no, this defense, we need to see improvement, or at the end of the year, we are going to have a legitimate Tim Banks conversation, because the year of 2025, dating back to the Ohio State game, Blake, it's not been good enough. It's just not been good enough on defense.
Exactly. 100%. So we'll see how the rest of the year goes, and then we'll continue to have that conversation. But you're absolutely right. The offense is just going to have to keep the pedal to the metal, baby, so that we can beat Oklahoma and keep our playoff chances alive. But to Matt S's point, he's like, hey, we got to have a solution. So who can we get? That's a great question. I think Austin and I will probably maybe dive deeper into that if it does become a bigger conversation, by the end of the year. Who can we get? Who could
Yep.
we replace him with? Go Big Damn Orange talking about Knowles from, I guess, Ohio State, Jim Knowles. A couple. There's some options out there, but it's a good question. It's definitely a valid question. So, Crew Thief, welcome, Crew Thief, agreeing that the defense is awful.
Correct.
And everyone pretty much agreeing that they're over the defense this year. So, better hope that. And then Josh, and you talking about old Coach Chavis, Jim Chavis. So, yeah, folks, welcome. If you're just now tuning in to the Vol Talk podcast, this is a Vol Talk, this is a podcast about all things volunteer sports.
Heck yeah.
And so we have been reviewing the Kentucky game, and please jump in the chat, let us know your thoughts. And then if you're watching after the fact, jump in the comments and let us know your thoughts on the defense and how the defense has been doing. And again, to this question that we're talking about, what is the solution? If you want to get rid of Tim Banks, who we're going to replace him with, what kind of scheme change do we need to look at? Let us know in the comments. And again, please follow along in the chat. We love chatting with you guys. But speaking of all things volunteer sports, Austin, we have some big news that we did make a post when it dropped. It was breaking news that Josh Elander, the assistant head coach under Tony Vitello, he has been promoted officially to head coach of the Tennessee Vols baseball team, 26th head coach in our history. Austin, Danny White made the announcement to the team. And I just want to start, Austin, with, man, it was incredible. The team was hyped, brother. They were excited that Josh Elander got this job.
It was an incredible piece of media. Shout out to the media team, whoever had the idea of doing this little video showing Danny White telling the squad who the next head baseball coach is going to be. It was an incredible. Like you said, if you haven't seen it, I recommend you all watching it. And if you're a Vol fan that hasn't given our baseball team a chance, I would give them a chance, man. It's a fun team to follow. But yeah, I mean, so the video basically, like Blake is saying, it's literally Danny White in, like, I'm assuming a baseball facility, telling the team that Elander was going to be the next coach. Elander comes in and the team goes absolutely buck wild. All the players were just absolutely thrilled. The former players, Blake, this is a situation where I hope Danny White wasn't influenced by Vols fans, right? I hope he wasn't influenced by people on Twitter. However, I am very happy to hear that he would be influenced by the players and the former players, because I think in this situation, it matters, man. Because what did we talk about when Tony left? The number one thing, in my opinion, is retaining this roster, because this roster can win. This roster has insanely great talent on it now, and the upcoming recruiting classes are obviously really good as well. So you need to retain the roster that you have, and the best way to do that was to hire obviously a very beloved hitting coach in Josh Elander, hitting coach and the third base coach as well, in Elander. And I think Danny White made the right decision ultimately. I think he made the right decision, and he did it quickly.
Yeah, and that's the key, is that it was the right decision and it was quick. And you hit the nail on the head. I think the biggest thing is maintaining the talent that we have and maintaining the recruiting class that we have. They obviously love. I mean, several of the recruits coming out saying, "Hey, love the hire."
Yes,
one of them said, when I committed to Tennessee and Tony Vitello, that included Elander, committing to Elander, and so. Yeah, definitely the right decision in this situation. I think this is going to give us the best chance to continue on the legacy and the momentum that Tony Vitello brought. And so, and yeah, Wesley talking about in the chat there, Elander is the dude that was the force in recruitment. And it shows because the players love him.
Yes. And dude, it's been a big story that Tony has been able to keep the coaching staff together. I mean, he's been able to keep Elander and Frank in the coaching staff since he's been hired on at Tennessee. And that's been a huge story because people are like, man, Josh Elander's a young guy. Teams are going to start looking at him for a head coaching job. So it kind of worked out, man. I think we do have a great hire because I think he was on his way to becoming an SEC baseball coach anyways. And people are making a great point. You made a great point, and then of course the chat as well. That yeah, Elander was a huge part of recruiting. So the question is, I think the recruiting is going to be fine. Which when we're talking about sports at a collegiate level, the Jimmy and Joes matter a ton. That's a big part of it. Like we talk about it in football, we talk about it in baseball, and even basketball. Having the right players matters. Now the question is, can Elander lead the program? Can he create the culture that or can he continue the culture that Tony Vitello created here? I think that will be the question. Can he manage it all? Can he be the face, if you will, of the program? So that's going to be the big question from here. I don't think the talent's going to be a problem, but it wasn't just talent accumulation that made Tony great. It was the culture that he made, the program that he built, and how he led the players. So that will be the only question with Elander going forward. And we'll see, dude. We'll see in the coming years with all this talent coming in.
And it is a good question because, yeah, I mean, Tony Vitello was so loved not only because he freaking brought a national championship, but also he loved being here, man. He loved,
Yes.
and maybe Austin will do a deep dive into at some point, Tony Vitello's, or maybe we should do it now. I don't know, but he came out, he had a statement, and he of course in Tony V fashion, he started with a joke, that he's been hired to babysit Drew Gilbert.
Yeah.
But then he goes on to say, hey, look, I hope this doesn't make me like a Lane Kiffin, because I am a VFL. I love it here. And he even talked about wanting to be back at Tennessee in some capacity,
So
right?
cool.
He wants to continue. He loves being in Tennessee. And that's the kind of guy that we want, right? And
yes.
And that's that you want. And so hopefully Elander, is going to continue that. Now, I do want to give a, kind of a suggestion to Vols fans in terms of like our outlook. Set your expectations reasonably.
Yes.
He's not going to have the exact same personality as Tony V. Tony V was a super outgoing, charismatic guy, all of this stuff. Elander may not be exactly that, and that's okay. Just keep winning and keep bringing the talent in.
Exactly, but winning cures all things. You're not going to get the press conference. Dude, if you would have told me 10 years ago, I would be waiting for a baseball press conferences. But like, I cannot tell you how many Tony Vitello press conferences I tuned into. He was just such an entertaining guy, man. He was such an entertaining guy, such an easy guy to root for, and listen to. That probably won't be the same, like you said, Blake, because it's like that's like catching lightning in a bottle, man. It really is, to have a guy like that. But the statement was awesome. What Tony V said, just how much he loves Tennessee. It's what I just don't think anyone ever has been able to capture the feelings of Vol Nation and understand it like Vitello did, man. It's unbelievable. He just got it, man. And he was one of us. And the fact that he's telling realtors, hey, stop calling me. I'm not selling my house in Tennessee. I want to be back. I want to be back for football games. I would totally endorse this, man. Totally 100%. Of course, he's completely different than Lane Kiffin. I think he was mostly saying that as a joke and hoping, Vol Nation will still love him. And we do. We still love him. I have all the love in the world for him. And I hope he does well, dude. I hope he does well on the next level. But like, he listed like 9 different things that he just loved about being at Tennessee. It's incredible, man. It's incredible. And I think it also says something that it doesn't, as of now, it doesn't seem like Tony's trying to poach any of our coaching staff. It's like, I think Tony wants to lead Tennessee in the best possible stance that he could. And I think at the end of the day, with all the talk, and maybe we will do a deep dive on it, because I told you before the show that I did it. I went down my own rabbit hole and looked into
Austin went down that hole,
exactly, and all that. And I think it would be interesting. At least I would enjoy it. But at the end of the day, dude, I think him making the decision was he had a chance to be at the highest level of baseball. And because he said this in the statement, Blake, he said, at the end of the day, this was a selfish decision that I had to make, which I
Yeah.
interpreted that as I have to see if I can win at the highest level of
Yeah.
baseball. And I totally get that, dude. I totally understand that. And he is 100% a VFL. Won a national championship here, stayed here. I mean, dude, he was also here for a decade. I mean, almost a decade here. Um, and I think, and listen, I don't know if we're going to be winning another national championship in baseball. I don't know with Elander. There's a lot of questions, but I feel like he could not have left the program in a better state, man. He could not have, with
Right.
the talent, the coaching staff in place. Like I think we have the pieces to keep the winning rolling for the baseballs.
And that's massive. And that's exactly why it's utterly, completely different than Lane Kiffin. Not even close to the same kind of situation as Lane Kiffin. And I agree with you. He's probably just joking, but I think there was a very, very few, but maybe a couple fans who kind of drew that comparison. Not a comparison. And like you said, there's not been a coach that I can think of. Maybe Bruce Pearl. Maybe Bruce Pearl kind of was a little bit like that. But Tony V, man, he captured the spirit of all nation in terms of fitting in. Even though he's not from Tennessee, he didn't go to Tennessee. Still, he was able to fit in. He was able to capture kind of the spirit of all nation, and then he loved this place, and so definitely left us in a good spot. I think Elander is set up well to continue to succeed, and that's huge because I want to keep this everything school ride going. We mentioned basketball at the top of the
Yes.
show. Basketball is looking poised to have a great year. Man, look, these rivals are going to be down bad, Austin, if we keep dominating them on every major sport, because that's the state of affairs right now. So,
Yeah, I agree,
any other
man.
final words there on Elander, brother?
No, I will touch on the everything sport thing that I think at least a portion of our fan base and myself included, we're feeling a little shaky about the everything sports school just because of the Danny White situation and Tony V leaving and Rick Barnes is I think he's likely close to retirement. Um, but I think with this Elander hire gave me hope, dude. It gave me hope because just putting out that video and everything, I think Danny White handled the situation incredibly well, and all that. So I'm hopeful with that. Obviously, the basketball team is interesting, man. We're gonna have to see him play on the court. We're gonna have to see him what they actually look like between the lines, but I am very high on the basketball team, dude. Very excited to cover it this year. The exhibition with Duke today is going to be something we'll probably touch on Tuesday, depending on how that goes. So excited to cover all that, and then football. We'll see. We'll see if this defense can get it together the rest of the year. However, just to kind of wrap up the football conversation, listen, we got one more week, one more week closer to doing what we need to do, which is 10-2, man. If you want to make a playoff,
Yep.
which I think that was my record prediction coming the year was 10-2. Long road, a couple tough games, but it's still out there in front of us, man. So we'll see.
It is absolutely on the table, but as we've talked about, defense has got to get better. Offense has got to keep that foot on the gas pedal so that we can do that. So we're going to continue to cover all that, folks. Like Austin said, we will we'll preview the Oklahoma game on Tuesday. And again, like Austin mentioned, we might, kind of do a quick conversation on how the exhibition game goes tonight against Duke with the basketball team. But at the very least, we'll be previewing the Oklahoma show. So definitely subscribe if you haven't already and hit that notification bell so you can be notified when that drops. What we do with our Tuesday shows, folks, is we do a live premiere, meaning that it is pre-recorded. However, it will premiere at 8 p.m. Eastern on Tuesday, and you all will have a live chat feature. So we love this community that we're building with you guys. So jump in that chat there and chat with your fellow Vols fans. And then, of course, on this video, let us know in the comments what you all think about the defense situation, and let us know, what you think about Josh Elander as well. We talked about Josh Elander. Let us know how excited you are. Well, I have a feeling that most Vols fans are excited about continuing that Tony V culture and seeing what Elander can do. So, and shout out real quick to a couple newcomers in the chat, RHRH, and then we got Papa J. Papa J, I think this might be the first time I've seen you in chat here. So welcome. Welcome to the Vol Talk podcast. Again, slam that subscribe button and the like button if you love the Vols. So, folks, we will see you all on the preview show for the Oklahoma game. But until then, as always, baby, go frickin' Vols.
GBO.